Today we're going to discuss Artian Weapons. You unlock these around Chapter 4 of the main story, and overall most players are going to be using Artian Weapons. They give us the best decoration slots, and they can be built to favor basically any kind of playstyle you want. They also kind of look cool for about 10 minutes, and then you get sick of them, but hey, they're really strong. Anyway, let's dive into exactly how to do all of this, the how and the why of everything. To start, there's 3 different rarities to craft from. There's 6, there's 7, and there's 8. So let's go to Gemma real quick and we'll just showcase this. You go to Gemma, go to Forge Artian Weapons. We're going to just look at switch axes, for instance. So as you can see, we have a lot of rarity 8s, but there's also some rarity 7s and rarity 6s. Now, for the sake of not being super confusing with all of this, we're just going to go over rarity 8s because that's what most people are going to be digging into. So, first things first, how do we get these? How do you get these broken blades and all this other tubes and everything else? Well, there's 2 ways to do this. So, the number one way most people are going to be getting all this is by hunting tempered monsters. So, as you can see, if I'm hovering around, you can see this tempered Doshaguma over here. This doesn't give us the rarity 8s that we're looking for. I believe this is going to be like rarity 7s, which sometimes can roll 8, I believe. But you're looking for high-level tempered monsters, such as this quest right here. As you can see, this quest right here, as we failed to get information from it, you can see the red question mark icons there. That means you're going to get mostly rarity 8s from all this. So at the end of the day, what you're going to be aiming to do is farm high-level tempered hunts. Now, there's another way to do this. If you go to Suja and go to the melding pot NPC, Vio, there's different things that you can craft here as well. Go to Meld Relics, and you can see you can do the rarity 5, rarity 6, rarity 7s. We're going to be aiming at rarity 7s. Now, depending on what type of weapon you want to make, you need to understand what you want to make first before creating anything. Do you need blades? Do you need tubes? Do you need discs? We'll go over this in just a second, but for now, we're just going to look at these Wyverian Bloodstones and Silver Relic tickets and Golden Relic tickets. These are going to be what you make all of these things from with the Melder. Now, how do you get Bloodstone chunks? You get these via fighting tempered monsters, and when you fight them, or when you're beating on a part long enough, a blue spot will appear, and when you break the blue wound, that will give you a Wyverian Bloodstone. Now, depending on what monster you break this from, if it's a Chatacabra or something, you're going to get like a shard or a small bloodstone. If it's something like an Arkveld, you're going to be getting a chunk, which is worth more points, obviously. So depending on the tier of monster that you're fighting, you're going to be getting different things. Now, also, you can trade in old parts that you're not going to use, like these rarity 6s. You can do these and get rid of them all and get a piece or 2. But generally speaking, you're going to be farming bloodstone chunks and tempered monsters. Sometimes you'll get lucky, get yourself a golden relic ticket where you can make a lot of them for basically free. But that's how you farm these items. Now, next stop, let's go over exactly what you need to do, or what you need to look for depending on the weapon that you're looking for. So we'll just use switch axe as an example. Again, we need a blade, and a device. Okay, let's say you're trying to make a lance. If you want a lance, you need a blade, a disc, and a disc. Now, for each weapon, this is completely different, but you need to know what you're looking for so you know what you got. Now, it's all RNG, what you get from hunts and what you get from melders, typically. So I believe with melding, you can pinpoint exactly what you're looking for. But when you're hunting, you're not going to get everything that you're looking for willy-nilly. But when you meld these things, you can see you get to pick from a blade, a tube, a disc, or a device. So just so you know, if you're target farming, use the melder. If you're not target farming and you're just kind of trying to build up a repertoire of things, go hunting all the time. Tempered monsters too. Anyway, now that we know all this, what are we doing with this? What's so strong about these weapons? All right. So one thing for certain you can do is look at the elemental type and the Artian bonus here. We're going to go over each of these. So let's say, for example, we want a paralysis switch axe. All right. I want this to also be a crit switch axe. I don't want it to be an attack raw damage switch axe. I want it to be an affinity switch axe. In Monster Hunter games, affinity means crit chance. You can see the changes up here depending on what you're picking. So if we're going to go for a paralysis crit build, we would ideally want to pick paralysis affinity blade. Then go to this, select the same thing, paralysis affinity blade. As you can see, these numbers are going up that we want. And then under device, we want paralysis affinity infusion device. Now, this is exactly what we want. But let's say you want something different. Okay? Let's say you want a raw damage weapon to do this. We'll cancel this out, restart it. If you want raw damage on any weapon that you want, you don't want any of these elements at all, you're going to go with any 3 mixtures. So obviously if we're going for raw damage, we want attack infusion. So let's just go fire, and then we'll go water, attack infusion again. And then for the device, we'll just go ice, attack infusion. Now, when we create this, it is not going to give us any element damage. It's just going to, we're going to basically roll as high as we can with attack or affinity, depending on what we get when we roll this, or when we upgrade this, rather, reinforce. But typically speaking, if you want a non-elemental weapon, you just roll 3 different things. Now, if I rolled this fire, ice, it would come out fire, but it would also be weaker. So if you are going for a specific element, you want to line all 3 of them up. So fire, not fire, water, for example. Okay, so back to the paralysis switch axe that we were talking about. Let's go with affinity, and affinity. And then we're going to forge it. Okay, we craft this. We get our Amundus Atlas or Altus weapon here. We're not going to equip it just yet. What we are going to do is go back to Gemma's main menu here and reinforce/dismantle Artian Weapons. Now we're going to get into the fun part. So this is the weapon that we just made. It is, as you can see, the paralysis affinity switch axe here. Now we're going to be using these pieces right here to reinforce and get this number up to max. Now, where do you get these pieces? Where do you get the Oracle or Oracalcite or Argisite, etc.? You get these via trading monster parts at the oil forge. Or if you speak to Nata, I know we all love doing that, you can go to festival shares every now and then, and you get your share of the festival shares. But typically speaking, how you're going to do this, we're going to go ahead and mosey on over to the oil well basin to Azuz. And once we're here, there's going to be an NPC we speak to, and we're going to be trading parts to him. Monster parts, that is. I probably should have went to my camp instead of here, but you know what? This is where we're at. We're just going to have to deal with it. So going up to the forge here, you talk to the NPC Rakul, to the smelting foundry. And you want to use this forge. You want to smelt ore. Now, armor spheres is a different story. We're going to go over this in another video sometime. But you want to smelt ore. Now, depending on how many points you need for the tier 8s, you're probably just going to want to do this one, your Oracalcite. Oracalcite, you need 50 total to max out a rank 8 weapon. So I already have some of these, but I'm just showcasing how you do this. It's just, you just trade points and you get things for it. It's really not that difficult. You just, as long as you're still hunting tempered monsters and things like that, you're going to be getting plenty of parts to trade in for this. So the grind isn't really too bad, but that is essentially how you do that part. We're going to mosey on over back to Gemma, and we're going to reinforce this and go over something else. So We have our parts. We have our weapon. Let's reinforce it. What does reinforcing even do? Well, we're going to crank this bad boy all the way up. And as you can see over here, we're going to get some question marks under the reinforcement bonus. This is not RNG, and I will explain a way to kind of cheese this system towards the end of the video. But for now, let's just see what we got, okay? So we go to reinforce this, 10,000 zenny, and then 50 parts here. And what do we get? Let's see we're not going to equip it just yet. Let's see what we got on here. So we got something, it's not the worst, but it's not good either. We rolled elemental boost ×2, which honestly, I don't really care for that. We don't care for attack boost or the other attack boost or the affinity boost. Well, actually, we want the affinity boost, but we want more affinity than anything because we're going for a crit build. But overall, this isn't like the worst thing in the world. But anyway, that's generally how reinforcing works. You roll it, you look at it, you get sad, you roll it again. How do you roll it again? Well, typically you just dismantle the things so you can get your Orichalcite back a little bit and your Argisite back. But you do lose the parts that you made the weapon with, I do believe. So, going back, we can do this again. So, if you remember the reinforcements on that, let's do another one. Forge Artian Weapons, switch axe. Let's go with Paralysis Affinity, and Paralysis Affinity. Forge this again. Got the same weapon again. Back out of here. Let's go to reinforce again. And now let's see what we get this time. Crank this bad boy up. Yes. And what'd we roll this time? Ugh. This time we rolled attack boost, sharpness, affinity, attack boost, and more sharpness. One of the main things you're not looking for here, one, sharpness I feel like is pretty good for what we got going on here, but two, it's kind of overkill. So we would destroy this weapon as well. Now, since it is kind of the end of the video, let's go over how you can cheese this system. All right, so we just deleted that weapon. So let's say that you're low on Artian pieces and you can't just keep making and dismantling. What are your options here? All right, so get into a game. Go ahead and save. Now what we're going to do is craft another weapon. And we're going to see what we get from it. Literally what we've been doing, so I'm just going to speed through this really quick. We're going to go again with... See, look at that. I'm out of affinity now. We're going to go with attack this time. Attack. Forge it. Get it done. Then we're going to reinforce it. Boost this bad boy up. And reinforce. We got... affinity, attack, sharpness, elemental boost. I don't want this. So, what do you do if you don't want those pieces? Well, what you can do is return to title screen and return without saving. Now, what does this do? That basically negates everything that we just went through after the save. So, all of our parts that we just used, they're going to be back in our inventory again for us to re-roll. Now, I'm going to tell you how people are kind of cheesing the system here as we log back in. Every time that you create a weapon, now this is weapon specific, so if you're just making charge blades or if you're just making any other weapon, it's weapon specific, so know this before you try to do this. Every time you make a weapon, the roll is predetermined. So right here out of the gate, we're going to go dragon. Okay. When I click forge, this weapon's rolls after I upgrade it or reinforce it are already determined. So what we're going to do is we're going to forge one of these. And that weapon's rolls are already predetermined. If we did the paralysis triple attack like we did before we logged out, it would roll the exact same thing that it did before. So how do you circumvent this? You go back to the exact same weapon, and you craft another one. Now, the second one will have a different set of predetermined upgrades. So then you throw all of your reinforcements into that, so you get a different outcome with the rolls of it all. It's a little bit confusing, but just think of it as it's already predetermined per piece that you make. So you make a piece and it's not what you want. You reload your save. Don't save as you leave. Make that same piece and then make another one. And the one after that will be what you're looking for. Like I said, it's a little bit confusing, but that's what a lot of people are doing, and they're just re-rolling things over and over again until they get exactly what they're looking for. I believe, according to other sources, there's a I think there's a table of 42 choices that you can possibly get. This is all predetermined, so if you get a roll that you really like and you want to keep that, well, that's your 1 in 42 that you basically hit, but there's 42 different options that the game can roll for you. But with that is going to be the end of the video. I hope it wasn't too confusing. The Artian system isn't really too bad. It takes a little bit of getting used to. It takes a lot of grinding in the beginning, but once you get enough pieces, you shouldn't really have to worry about too much. It's not that confusing. If you try to cheese the system, which may or may not get patched in the near future, we don't know. It's a little bit more confusing using that method, but at the end of the day, it's not too bad. If you got any questions at all, I know I'm not the greatest at explaining things sometimes, but if you have any questions at all, leave them in the comments below. And also, if you are educated enough on this video, if it helped you out in any way, I would absolutely love a like, favorite, and subscribe. I would appreciate that. But with that, that's the end of the video. Y'all take care. Happy hunting. Good luck on your hunts. And we'll see you in the next one.